tried to tame. The lies I spoke, the pride I fed, the quiet wrongs I left for dead, the same deep dark.
When the Light Turns, Justice, Devotional Series, Episode 9. The bravest thing this song does, it is about to do now. For an entire movement, we held a light up to the world. We aimed it at the wars, the buried truth, the proud, the forgotten children, the whole shattered and drowning mess of it. And we cried out for God to come and judge it. Now the song takes that same light, and with a steadiness that should make us nervous, it turns it around. It stops shining it at the world. It begins to shine it at us. This is the second movement. And before we walk into it, line by line, I want to lay out the whole shape of it, because it travels a long way. It begins with a turn inward, descends into a discovery most of us spend our lives avoiding, rises into the most radical statement of worship in the entire song, drops to the very cusp of despair, and then, at the bottom, where we cannot save ourselves, meets a door. Start with how the turn even happens, because there is a wrong way to do this, and the song does not do it the wrong way. The wrong way is morbid self-digging, sitting in a dark room manufacturing guilt, scraping at yourself until you feel sufficiently bad. That is not conviction. That is just despair wearing a religious coat. The song's inward turn does not come from staring at ourselves. It comes from staring at God. When Peter watched Jesus fill his nets with a catch that should not have been possible, when the power and holiness of the Lord flashed in front of him for 1 second, his response was immediate and total. He fell down and said, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." Luke 5:8. He was not introspecting. He was reacting to glory. The nearer you stand to perfect holiness, the more clearly you see what you actually are. Conviction is not a function of how hard you look at yourself. It is a function of how close you are standing to God. And then, coupled to that glory, there is a simpler and more ordinary honesty, just the plain evidence of our own lives. We do not need a vision of the throne room to know we fall short. We need only the drive to work this morning, the impatience that flared at a stranger who did nothing but drive slowly in front of us, the short, sharp tone we used with the people we love most, who deserved it least, the selfish ambition stitched through so much of what we call our goals, the good things God did that we never once thought to thank Him for, the stress we carried straight to ourselves to solve instead of bringing it to Him. None of these will make the evening news. None of them are the wars or the buried truth of the first verse. And that is exactly the point. If this much falls short in the small, unwatched corners of an ordinary day, what honest person could stand in front of the wrath of God against the world and assume they would simply be waved through? All have sinned, Paul says, and fall short of the glory of God. Romans 3:23. All. The glory that exposes the world's sin is the same glory we fall short of. Which brings the song to its hinge. The same deep darkness we condemned out there is here, in us. We were never only the wronged. We are also among the wrongdoers. The world we cried for justice against, we are part of that world. That is the discovery, and we will sit with its full weight in the next episode. For now, it is enough to feel the floor tilt. And it is precisely here, standing on that tilting floor, that the song says the most staggering thing in its entire length. Should that wrath consume my soul, all I want, your glory known. Stop and feel the weight of that. The singer, having seen the holiness of God and the guilt of his own heart, does not bargain, does not plead his case. He says that even if the wrath of God were to fall on him and consume him, his one desire would still be that God be glorified. His own destruction offered up if it would make God's glory known. I will not soften that, because it is not meant to be softened. This is the highest posture a creature can take, and the saints have stood in it before. When 3 young men faced a furnace for refusing to bow, they told the king their God was able to save them. But even if he does not, they said, we will not serve your gods. Daniel 3:18. Even if he does not. They worshipped with no guarantee of rescue. When Job lost everything in a single day, he fell to the ground and said, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Job 1:21. This is what it sounds like when God is genuinely first. Not first among our priorities. First in all of existence, above every other thing, including our own selves and our own salvation. Nothing in heaven or earth can compare to God and the weight of His glory. And a heart that sees rightly wants that glory above its own life. We dread saying it. And underneath the dread, if we are honest, we long to be the kind of person who could. So the movement does not flinch. The chorus ahead of us will say it plainly, that God's justice breaks the world apart, that His wrath unmasks the rebel heart, that the guilty stand with nowhere left to go, that all righteousness demands the debt be paid. We will be brought to the very cusp of despair, to the honest and undeniable recognition that we deserve the very wrath we were cheering on the world. There is no trick that gets us out of that. We earned it. And then God does the thing He has done at every turn of this song. He steps in. On the edge of that despair, He moves, and the song will say it before the movement ends. When that judgment sought my soul, you made the way that makes me whole. With one hand, He holds back the wrath we have earned, and with the other, He offers us grace through Christ. Not grace we generated, not a way we built, His doing entirely. We were by nature deserving of wrath, Paul says, but God, who is rich in mercy, because of His great love, made us alive. Ephesians 2:3-5. It is by grace you have been saved, through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Ephesians 2:8-9. We could not save ourselves. That is not a detail. That is the whole point. And here is why this descent is not cruelty but mercy. The deeper we go into the truth of our own guilt, the larger the rescue becomes. You cannot understand the size of a gift until you understand the size of the debt it cleared. If Movement 2 only convinces us we are mildly flawed, the cross in Movement 3 will look like an overreaction. But if it tells us the truth, that we stood guilty before a holy God, deserving of His wrath, with nowhere left to stand and nothing to offer, then the way He made will tower over us at its true height. The whole reason we let this movement bring us low is so that we can finally see the magnitude of what we are being saved from, and the magnitude of the one who was willing to save us from it through Himself. So we make the turn. We do not skip it. And we make it on the ground we were given at the very start, that we are loved, that we are held, that we can look honestly at the worst of ourselves because we are not looking alone. Tomorrow we begin the descent in earnest, and we start where the singer starts, with the fault within his own frame.